They thought humanity was extinct. Then, their phantom fleet appeared. Before they leave, confuse subscribe if you think the mystery of humanity is the power itself. Enjoy the story. The void between stars holds secrets. Tonight, one of those secrets reveals itself. Supreme Chancellor. Victor Kane stands before the vast, transparent steel windows of his command fortress, watching patrol fleets drift like fireflies across the darkness. For 3 centuries, the Dominion Empire has ruled with absolute authority. Their future tech surpasses anything the galaxy has ever seen. Their fleets number in the millions. Their word is law across 10,000 worlds. Kane's reflection stares back at him, a face carved from marble eyes like chips of ice. Status report, he commands without turning. Admiral Thomas Raines approaches his boots clicking against polished metal. All sectors secure, Chancellor. The Outer Rim patrols report nothing unusual. Our expansion into the tertiary systems proceeds as scheduled. Kane nods. The Dominion's machine of conquest never sleeps. Each day brings new worlds under their control, new species to subjugate, new resources to harvest. It is the natural order the strong consume the weak. Sir, the voice cuts through their conversation like a blade. Agent Samuel Drake materializes from the shadows, his intelligence division uniform bearing no insignia. Deep space sensors have detected an anomaly. Kane finally turns. Elaborate. Drake's fingers dance across his holographic interface. The air shimmers, then solidifies into a 3-dimensional star map. A cluster of red dots pulses at the edge of Dominion space, a fleet formation moving with purpose. 17 vessels, unknown configuration. They've just entered our territory through the Void Gate passage. Drake pauses, his voice dropping. Their technology signature is peculiar. Admiral Raines leans forward. Pirates Rebel Coalition. Negative, sir. The energy reading suggests something older. Much older. Drake's expression grows troubled. The ships appear to be of human origin. Silence crashes down like a falling mountain. Kane's eyes narrow to slits. Impossible, Raines whispers. Humans are extinct. Have been for over 3 centuries. That's what our archives claim, Drake agrees. But these ships, they match theoretical projections of human military vessels from the pre-Dominion era. Kane's lips curve into a predatory smile. Theories. Archaeological fantasies. Some rebel faction has simply salvaged ancient hulks and fitted them with stolen technology. He turns back to the viewport. Admiral, deploy Strike Fleet Terminus. Eliminate the intruders. No survivors. Chancellor, Drake interjects carefully. Perhaps we should investigate first. If these truly are... They are ghosts, Agent Drake, and ghosts cannot threaten the living. Kane's voice carries the weight of absolute certainty. The Dominion has crushed every enemy that has dared to challenge us. These scavengers will be no different. But as Strike Fleet Terminus begins its acceleration toward the unknown vessels, Drake studies the sensor readings with growing unease. The human ships, if that's what they truly are, move with a precision that speaks of living crews, not salvage operations. Their formation is perfect, their spacing calculated to the meter. Whatever approaches from the void, it carries the patience of centuries and the weight of forgotten fury. Aboard the Dominion flagship Hegemony's Edge, Admiral Raines reviews the tactical display with the casual confidence of a predator approaching wounded prey. Strike Fleet Terminus represents the finest of Dominion military technology, 47 vessels armed with plasma cannons that can crack planets and shields capable of withstanding supernovas. Visual contact in 30 seconds, reports his tactical officer, Aline Vorthon, whose 4 eyes scan multiple displays simultaneously. Rains adjusts his ceremonial battle cloak. Throughout the fleet, officers prepare for what they assume will be a brief and entirely one-sided engagement. The bridge crew exchanges knowing glances. Another day, another extermination. The main screen flickers to life, and the unknown fleet resolves into sharp detail. By the void, someone whispers. The human ships hang in space like sleeping predators. Their hulls are scarred metal bearing the marks of countless battles. No elegant curves or artistic flourishes, just brutal, functional death machines built for one-purpose war. They look ancient, primitive even. Their weapons are visible on the hull, crude-looking railguns and missile pods that appear centuries out of date. Are they serious? Lieutenant Commander Vex laughs, his tentacles writhing with amusement. Those relics wouldn't last 10 seconds against our plasma arrays. Rains studies the formation with a professional eye. 17 ships arranged in a pattern he doesn't recognize, not the standard battle formations taught in every military academy. Open a channel. Let's see what manner of fools we're dealing with. The communication array hums to life. Static fills the bridge, then clears to reveal a face that sends ice through Rains's veins. Human. Undeniably, impossibly human. The man on the screen appears middle-aged by human standards with graying hair and eyes that have seen too much. His uniform is simple functional, no decorations, no symbols of rank. Just a name tag reading Holt. I am Commander Daniel Holt of the Human Expeditionary Force. The man says, his voice carrying an odd accent, archaic, like something from the deepest historical archives. You are trespassing in reclaimed human space. Withdraw immediately. The bridge erupts in laughter. Even Rains cannot suppress a smile. Reclaimed human space. Rains leans forward. Child, this sector has belonged to the Dominion for over 200 years. Your species has been extinct for 3 centuries. Whatever pathetic colony ship spawned you, it's time to return to whatever hole you crawled from. Holt's expression doesn't change. We are aware of the Dominion's territorial claims. We do not recognize them. This is your final warning. Final warning! Vex's laughter becomes almost hysterical. 17 museum pieces against a full-strike fleet. Your survival skills clearly don't include basic mathematics. Something flickers in Holt's eyes, not anger, but something far more dangerous. Certainty. Admiral! Comes a voice from the tactical station. Their ships are powering weapons. Rains waves dismissively. Primitive kinetics and chemical explosives. Our shields will absorb their entire volley without strain. He turns back to the screen. Commander Holt, I'm going to give you one opportunity to surrender. Your vessels will be impounded, your crews interrogated. Resist, and you will be destroyed. Holt nods slowly. I understand. You have made your choice. He pauses, then adds something that chills Rains to the bone. So did your predecessors. The transmission cuts. For a moment, uncertainty flickers through the bridge. What did he mean by predecessors? But the feeling passes quickly. The Dominion has never lost a battle. They have crushed rebels, pirates, and rival empires alike. These humans, if they truly are humans, will be no different. All ships combat formation. Epsilon, Rains commands. Target their command vessel first. Let's end this quickly. Sir, the tactical officer reports, the human ships are moving. Their formation is, I don't understand their formation. On the display, the 17 human vessels begin to dance. Not the rigid battle lines of Dominion doctrine, but something organic, fluid. They move like a pack of predators, each ship covering the others, their spacing calculated for purposes Rains cannot fathom. Agent Drake's voice crackles over the command frequency. Admiral, recommend extreme caution. Their tactical patterns don't match any known strategies. Noted and dismissed. Rains replies curtly. All ships open fire. The void erupts in violence. Plasma beams lance across space, brilliant as newborn stars. The Dominion's devastating future tech unleashes hell itself upon the human fleet. And the humans dance. What happens next defies everything Admiral Rains knows about warfare. Everything the Dominion military academies have taught for 3 centuries. Everything that should be possible in a universe governed by predictable physical laws. The Dominion's plasma barrage, enough concentrated destructive power to annihilate a small moon, to crack the crust of a planet, to burn the atmosphere off a world, finds only empty space. The human ships weave through the incoming fire like they can see the future. Their movements seemingly random, yet perfectly coordinated. Each vessel dances between death and survival with impossible precision, their hulls never more than meters from annihilation, yet never touched by the storm of plasma that should have vaporized them instantly. Impossible! Vex breathes his 4 tentacles, writhing in disbelief. Our targeting computers are showing direct hits. Every shot should have connected. Electronic interference, reports the sensor officer, her voice tight with confusion that borders on terror. Sir, I'm reading massive electronic warfare deployment from the human vessels. Our targeting systems are being systematically compromised. It's not random jamming, they're rewriting our tactical software in real time. Rains feels the first stirring of unease, a cold touch in his gut that he hasn't experienced since his academy days. The humans aren't just avoiding their fire, they're making the Dominion fleet blind, deaf, and stupid. Switch to manual targeting. Route tactical control through secondary systems. Activate all backup protocols. Sir, attempting manual override, manual systems are also compromised. The humans are returning fire. The main screen fills with streaks of light, not the brilliant plasma of Dominion weapons that could boil oceans, but simple kinetic projectiles, bullets, missiles, crude metal slugs hurled by magnetic acceleration technology that the Dominion abandoned centuries ago as primitive and ineffective. The bridge crew actually laughs the sound echoing through the command center like the final notes of a funeral dirge. Then the first Dominion ship dies. The destroyer Raven's Talon, a masterpiece of Dominion engineering armed with weapons that could level cities and protected by shields that could deflect solar flares, simply ceases to exist as a functional entity. No explosion, no dramatic fireball, no spectacular display of destruction. Its shields flicker once, like a candle in a hurricane, and die as kinetic rounds punch through them like tissue paper. The massive vessel goes dark, its proud hull tumbling lifeless through space like a discarded toy. Report! Rains shouts, his voice cracking with something that might be panic. What just happened to the Raven's Talon? The kinetic rounds. The tactical officer's voice wavers a professional composure cracking under the weight of impossible facts. They're designed specifically to overload our shield harmonics. The mass-to-velocity ratio is perfect for creating resonance cascade failures. Sir, it's like they know exactly how our technology works better than we do. 2 more ships go dark in rapid succession, Their advanced future tech reduced to expensive scrap by weapons that should have been museum pieces. Then 3 more. The human weapons are surgical in their precision, targeting specific systems with uncanny accuracy that speaks of decades, no centuries of study and preparation. They're not trying to destroy the Dominion fleet through brute force, they're disabling it with the cold efficiency of a surgeon removing a tumor. How do they know our shield frequencies? Vex demands his voice, rising to near hysteria. Those specifications are classified at the highest levels. No enemy has ever penetrated our security protocols. The answer comes from Agent Drake's urgent transmission, his face appearing on Raines's personal display with an expression of barely controlled terror. "Admiral, you need to see this immediately. The human electronic warfare isn't just jamming our systems, it's turning them against each other. They've penetrated our entire battle network." On Raines's personal display, a horrifying image resolves like a nightmare becoming real. 6 Dominion vessels, their targeting computers hijacked by alien code, are firing on their own fleet. Plasma beams lance between Allied ships as confused captains scream desperate orders, trying to regain control of weapons that no longer recognize their authority. The Dominion's greatest strength, their interconnected battle network that allowed perfect coordination between thousands of vessels, has become a weapon in enemy hands. Shut down all networked systems. Raines commands his voice, breaking with desperation. Full communication blackout emergency protocols Omega through Zeta. But it's too late. In the span of minutes, the human fleet has turned the Dominion's greatest technological achievement into an instrument of self-destruction. Ships fire on their allies with their own weapons. Navigation systems send vessels careening into each other like drunken dancers, and shield generators overload in perfectly timed cascades that leave entire squadrons helpless. Commander Holt's face reappears on the main screen, his expression as unchanged as carved stone. Behind him, his bridge operates with quiet efficiency, each crew member performing their duties with the calm precision of professionals who have trained for this moment their entire lives. "Admiral," he says with the tone one might use to discuss the weather, "your fleet has 30 seconds to withdraw before I am forced to take more permanent measures." More permanent? Raines snarls, though the sound carries more desperation than authority. "You're fighting with antiques museum pieces. Our technology is centuries ahead of yours." Holt tilts his head slightly, the gesture carrying something between pity and professional interest. "Your technology is impressive, Admiral. Unfortunately for you, you've forgotten how to fight. You've grown soft, complacent, dependent on machines to do your thinking. We never had that luxury." A new alarm screams across the bridge, its shriek cutting through the chaos like the cry of a dying god. "Sir, massive energy buildup from the human flagship power readings are... This can't be right." The human command vessel, an angular monster of scarred metal that looks like it was built in the fires of hell itself, begins to glow along its central spine. Energy arcs between massive capacitor banks as something ancient and terrible awakens in its belly. Something that drinks power like a black hole drinks light. "What are they charging?" Raines demands, his voice small in the face of readings that defy comprehension. "Unknown weapon type," comes the reply, tinged with the kind of awe usually reserved for religious experiences. "Energy signature unlike anything in our database. Sir, the power levels are beyond anything we've ever recorded." Holt's smile is thin and cold as winter on a dead world. "Allow me to introduce you to Human Innovation Admiral." This is what happens when a species spends 3 centuries perfecting the art of survival. This is what happens when the galaxy's most dangerous predators are given time to plan. The weapon fires. It's not a beam or a projectile, it's something else entirely, something that makes reality itself recoil in terror. A pulse of electromagnetic energy that spreads through space like ripples on a pond. But these ripples carry death in their wake. Where the pulse touches Dominion ships, their electronics simply die. Not damaged, not overloaded, not corrupted, erased from existence, as if they had never been created. 23 vessels of Strike Fleet Terminus drift helpless in space, their crews trapped in dead metal coffins that no longer remember how to sustain life. Emergency power fails. Life support dies. Communications cease. The pride of the Dominion military becomes a floating graveyard testament to the hubris of those who forget that technology is only as powerful as the will that wields it. The human ships advance with predatory patience, their weapons remaining trained on the helpless Dominion fleet but not firing. The message is clear as starlight. We could have destroyed you all. We chose not to. This time, Rains stares at the tactical display in shock, so profound it borders on religious experience. His magnificent fleet, the pride of the Dominion military, the culmination of 3 centuries of technological advancement, reduced to floating scrap in less than 20 minutes, by an enemy that shouldn't exist, using weapons that shouldn't work, employing tactics that shouldn't be possible. His survival skills, honed through decades of warfare against pirates and rebels and rival empires, scream at him to retreat while retreat is still an option. All ships that can move, he whispers, his voice carrying the weight of absolute defeat, withdraw to the nexus point. Emergency jump protocols. Leave the dead behind. As the surviving Dominion vessels limp away like wounded animals fleeing from a predator they cannot comprehend, Holt's voice follows them across the void. Tell your Chancellor that humanity has returned. Tell him that we remember everything, every crime, every atrocity, every world you burned in our name. And tell him that judgment is coming, Admiral. Justice delayed is not justice denied. The human fleet does not pursue. They simply watch, letting their enemies carry the message back to their masters. Because sometimes the greatest weapon is not destruction, it's fear. And fear properly cultivated can topple empires without firing another shot. The Dominion capital of New Sovereign burns with activity. Emergency sessions of the High Command fleets recalled from the outer territories, intelligence analysts poring over every fragment of data from the human encounter. The impossible has happened, and no one knows how to respond. Supreme Chancellor Kane stands in his war room surrounded by holographic displays showing the scope of the crisis. Reports flood in from across the Empire. Human ships appearing at the edges of Dominion space, always watching, always waiting. "How many vessels?" Kane asks, his voice deadly calm. Agent Drake consults his datapad. Best estimates suggest between 300 and 500 ships, maybe more. They appear and disappear so quickly our sensors can barely track them. 500. Admiral Rains's voice carries the strain of the last week. The defeat at the Void Gate has shaken him to his core. Where did they come from? How did they build so many vessels without our knowledge? The more important question, Drake says quietly, is what they want. Kane's eyes flash. They want to die, and we're going to accommodate them. He activates the central display showing a massive fleet formation. I'm deploying the Absolute Victory Division. 1,200 ships including the super dreadnought Dominion's Wrath. This human infestation ends now. Chancellor, Drake ventures. Perhaps we should consider what Kane's voice could freeze plasma. Negotiation with primitives who barely qualify as sentient. The Dominion does not negotiate with insects. But even as he speaks, Kane knows something has changed. The easy confidence of 3 centuries has cracked. For the first time in the Empire's history, they face an enemy that fights without fear, without hesitation, and with tactics that make no sense. The super dreadnought Dominion's Wrath represents the pinnacle of Dominion military technology. 5 kilometers of death and destruction, armed with enough firepower to sterilize a planet. When it moves, escort fleets follow like faithful hounds. It has never been challenged. Until today, the human fleet appears as if summoned from the void itself. Not the 17 ships from before, but over 200 vessels arranged in that same incomprehensible formation. They wait at the edge of the Kepler Nebula, their weapons powered but not targeted. Admiral Rains commands the Absolute Victory Division from the bridge of Dominion's Wrath. Around him, the finest officers in the Dominion military prepare for battle with grim determination. "Sir," reports the tactical officer, "the human ships are broadcasting on all frequencies." "Put it through." Commander Holt's face appears on the main screen. Behind him, the bridge of his vessel seems Spartan compared to the luxury of Dominion command centers. Functional, efficient, built for war. "Admiral Rains," Holt says without preamble, "you've brought an impressive fleet. Impressive enough to crush you and every ship in your pathetic armada." Rains replies, "This is your final opportunity to surrender." Holt nods thoughtfully. "You know, Admiral, your predecessors said something very similar to my ancestors. They had impressive fleets, too." His voice hardens. "Before we burned them all." "Predecessors." Rains frowns. "What are you talking about? The Vortai hegemony, the Zephyrian Empire, the Kotharan Dominion." Holt lists the names like he's reading from a memorial. All of them ruled with absolute power. All of them believed their technology made them invincible. All of them learned the same lesson you were about to learn. A chill runs down Rains's spine. Those names. He knows them from ancient history. Fallen empires, extinct civilizations. Those species were destroyed by natural disasters, stellar phenomena, not by humans. Holt's smile is razor sharp. "Admiral, my people have been fighting a very long war, a galactic war that began centuries before your Dominion even existed. We've learned to be patient, we've learned to wait, and we've learned to prepare." The tactical display suddenly explodes with new contacts. Human ships materialize throughout the battle zone, not from hyperspace but from stealth fields, so advanced they've been invisible to Dominion sensors. Hundreds of vessels surround the Absolute Victory Division. "How?" Rains whispers. "Future tech," Holt says simply. 300 years of development by a species with nothing to lose and everything to prove. Admiral, you're about to witness humanity's greatest achievement." The human flagship begins to charge something. Energy readings spike beyond anything the Dominion has seen. Whatever weapon the humans deployed at the Void Gate, this is orders of magnitude more powerful. "All ships open fire!" Rains shouts. "Kill them all!" The Absolute Victory Division unleashes hell. Plasma beams lance across space powerful enough to crack moons. Quantum torpedoes streak toward human targets with deadly precision. The super dreadnoughts' main batteries fire continuously their destructive output beyond imagination. And then the humans deploy the Phantom Lance. It begins as a ripple in space itself, a distortion that bends light and warps reality. The weapon doesn't fire energy or projectiles, it fires pure physics. Electromagnetic pulses that rewrite the laws of matter at the quantum level. Where it strikes Dominion, ships simply stop functioning. Not destroyed, not damaged, transformed into perfectly preserved monuments to technological hubris. In 7 minutes, 1,200 Dominion vessels drift silent in space. Their crews are alive, but helpless, trapped in ships that no longer respond to any command. The Phantom Lance has turned the Absolute Victory Division into a floating museum. Commander Holt appears on every screen throughout the fleet. "This could have been your end," he says quietly. "But humanity doesn't seek extinction. We seek justice. Your crews will be rescued. Your ships will be studied. And your leaders will answer for the crimes of their ancestors." The transmission ends, leaving Admiral Raines alone with the magnitude of his defeat. The Dominion's greatest fleet rendered helpless by weapons that shouldn't exist, wielded by a species that was supposed to be extinct. As human ships begin their approach to collect prisoners, Raines finally understands the truth. Humanity hasn't just survived, they've evolved. 3 centuries of hiding, planning, and perfecting the art of war have created something unprecedented in galactic history. An enemy that the Dominion cannot defeat. Across the galaxy, 1,000,000 species hold their breath. The news spreads faster than light itself. The Dominion, undefeated for 3 centuries, has suffered 2 catastrophic defeats. Not by superior numbers, not by advanced technology, but by tactics so alien that no military academy has words to describe them. And the enemy is human. On the slave world of Kepler 442b, Thylorian workers pause in their endless labor to whisper forbidden words. Human. Return. Freedom. The overseers don't understand the language, but they feel the change in the air, an electricity that speaks of hope, long buried stirring to life. In the research stations of the Ethon collective scientists who have spent lifetimes serving Dominion masters begin to remember legends their grandparents told. Stories of a warrior race that fought not for conquest, but for justice. HFY stories passed down through generations like sacred texts. Lieutenant Claire Morgan stands on the bridge of the human cruiser Remembrance watching intelligence reports flow in from across the galaxy. The young tactical officer has spent her entire life preparing for this moment, the day when humanity would emerge from the shadows to reclaim their place among the stars. "Ma'am," reports her communications officer, "we're receiving transmission requests from 17 different species. They're asking for alliance." Morgan nods. It has begun. For 3 centuries, the Dominion has ruled through fear crushing any species that showed signs of independence. But now, with human ships prowling the spaceways, that fear is transforming into something far more dangerous to tyrants' hope. "Put me through to Commander Holt," Morgan says. The main screen flickers to reveal the angular face of their fleet commander. Behind him, the bridge of the human flagship bustles with activity as crews coordinate the largest military operation in galactic history. "Claire," Holt says without preamble. "Status report." "The galaxy is watching, sir. Intelligence suggests 17 separate species are considering open rebellion. The Thylorian resistance has gone active. The Zeph coalition is mobilizing their hidden fleets. Even the peaceful Valdorians are asking about weapon supplies." Holt's expression grows thoughtful. "Show me the tactical display." The galaxy map materializes between them a three-dimensional web of stars and trade routes. Red zones mark Dominion-controlled space, still vast, still powerful, but no longer absolute. Yellow markers indicate species in active communication with human forces. Green dots show worlds already liberated by lightning human raids. 67 worlds freed in the last month, Morgan reports. 0 casualties among the liberated populations. The Dominion hasn't been able to mount an effective counteroffensive. Because they're fighting the last war, Holt replies. Their doctrine assumes enemies will behave like they do linear tactics, predictable strategies, conquest for the sake of power. They can't adapt to an enemy that fights for ideals. A new alarm sounds. Sir, calls the sensor operator, massive fleet movement in the Dominion core worlds. It looks like Chancellor Kane is personally taking command of their response. Morgan studies the readings. 2,000 ships, maybe more. They're pulling back their entire frontier fleet. Good, Holt says quietly. Let them concentrate their forces. It makes our job easier. Sir, Holt's smile is sharp as a blade. Claire, the Dominion's greatest weakness isn't their arrogance, it's their inability to understand what we're actually fighting for. They think this is about revenge, territory, resources. They don't realize we're fighting for something much more dangerous, which is memory. Holt turns to address the entire bridge crew. Open a channel to all allied species, full galactic broadcast. The communications array hums to life, connecting human forces to rebellion movements across known space. On 1,000 worlds in hidden bunkers and secret meeting places, beings who have never seen a human face lean forward to listen. People of the galaxy, Holt begins his voice carrying across the void to reach enslaved workers, oppressed scientists, and conquered warriors. For 3 centuries you have lived under Dominion rule. You have been told that resistance is futile, that your histories don't matter, that your ancestors' struggles were meaningless. He pauses, letting the words sink in. They lied. Your ancestors' courage lives on in you. Their dreams of freedom burn in your hearts. And today, those dreams begin to come true. The transmission switches to show footage from liberated worlds. Thylorian families reuniting after years of forced separation. Ethon scientists destroying Dominion surveillance equipment. Valdorian children playing games their grandparents had almost forgotten. Humanity stands with you, Holt continues, not as conquerors seeking subjects, but as allies sharing a common cause. We remember what the galaxy was like before the Dominion. We remember the songs your people sang, the art. They created the technologies they developed. We remember because someone must, and we fight because someone should. Across the galaxy, the response is immediate. On Kepler 442b, Thylorian workers begin dismantling mining equipment to build weapons. In the asteroid research stations, Ethon scientists activate hidden communication networks. Even on the Dominion capital worlds, secret groups of dissidents begin emerging from shadows they've hidden in for generations. Sir Morgan reports excitement coloring her voice. Rebellion reports from over 300 worlds. The Dominion's internal security forces are completely overwhelmed. But Holt's expression remains somber. This is just the beginning, Claire. Kane won't accept defeat, he'll escalate. Try to destroy what he can't control. As if summoned by his words, a priority transmission arrives from Dominion space. Chancellor Kane's face appears on screen, his features twisted by fury. "Commander Holt!" Kane snarls. You have made a grave mistake. You think to turn my subjects against me with promises of freedom? I will show you what freedom looks like. The transmission cuts to show orbital bombardment platforms positioning themselves over rebellious worlds. Massive weapons capable of sterilizing entire continents prepare to fire. Surrender immediately, Kane's voice returns. Or watch a billion beings die for your arrogance. The channel closes, leaving the human bridge in grim silence. Morgan looks to her commander. Sir, Holt's eyes are chips of ice. Signal all ships. Implement Operation Iron Vortex. Chancellor Kane wants to see what humanity is truly capable of. Let's show him. The greatest battle in galactic history is about to begin. Supreme Chancellor Kane commands his ultimate fleet from the bridge of the super battleship Eternal Dominion, a vessel so massive it generates its own gravitational field. Around him, 2,000 of the finest warships ever constructed await his orders. If humanity wants war, they will have it. Status report, Kane demands. Admiral Thex Kane's most trusted commander consults the tactical displays. All battle groups report ready. The orbital bombardment platforms are positioned over 47 rebel worlds. One word from you and we can sterilize them all. Kane nods with satisfaction. This is how you deal with rebellion, not through negotiation or compromise, but through overwhelming force. The galaxy will remember this day as the moment the Dominion reminded everyone why they rule. Sir, calls the sensor operator. Human fleet detected. Bearing 27 Mark 8. They're not hiding. Kane moves to the main viewer. There, hanging in space like a gathering storm, is the largest human fleet anyone has ever seen. Over 500 vessels arranged in that same incomprehensible formation that has become their signature. But something is different this time. These ships don't bear the scars of ancient battles. They're new, fresh, built with technologies that make even Kane's advanced fleet look primitive. Impossible, Admiral Thex whispers. Where did they get so many ships? The answer comes in the form of a transmission from Commander Holt. But when his image appears on screen, he's not alone. Behind him stand representatives of a dozen species, Thylorian resistance leaders, Ethon scientists, Valdorian engineers, others Kane doesn't recognize. Chancellor Kane, Holt says formally, I believe you wanted our attention. You're outnumbered 4-1, Kane snarls. Your rebellion ends here. Does it? Holt steps aside, revealing the full scope of his alliance. Admiral, meet the Galactic Liberation Coalition. 17 species united by a common cause, the end of Dominion tyranny. Kane's blood runs cold as new contacts begin appearing on his sensors. Ships emerging from hyperspace, rising from planetary surfaces, decloaking from behind asteroids. Not hundreds, but thousands. An armada representing every oppressed species in the galaxy united under human command. How? Kane whispers. 3 centuries of preparation, Holt replies. While you believed we were extinct, we were building, teaching, sharing our survival skills with anyone willing to learn. Your empire created its own enemy's chancellor. We just showed them how to fight. The tactical display tells a story of impossible coordination. Human vessels move in perfect harmony with alien designs, creating combined formations that maximize each species' strengths. Thylorian raiders provide speed and stealth. Ethon ships offer scientific precision. Valdorian vessels contribute their legendary shields. Together, they form something greater than the sum of their parts. All ships, Kane commands, Open fire. Show these primitives the power of— I wouldn't do that, Holt interrupts. You see, Chancellor, we've been studying your empire for a very long time. We know about your orbital bombardment platforms. We know about your threats against civilian populations. And we've prepared a response. The human flagship begins to glow with that familiar energy buildup. But this time, instead of one phantom lance, hundreds of human ships begin charging similar weapons. The combined energy signature is beyond anything the galaxy has ever seen. This is our Iron Vortex strategy, Holt explains calmly. Every bombardment platform, every orbital station, every weapon pointed at innocent civilians, we can disable them all simultaneously. Your choice, Chancellor. Order your fleet to stand down, or watch us demonstrate why humanity earned its reputation as the galaxy's most dangerous species. Kane's face contorts with rage. Fire, all ships fire everything. The Dominion fleet unleashes destruction on a scale that defies imagination. Plasma beams that could crack moons lance across space. Quantum torpedoes with the power of small stars streak toward their targets. The void itself seems to scream under the assault. And the Liberation Coalition responds with coordinated precision that transforms chaos into art. Human ships weave through the incoming fire, their pilots using survival skills honed through centuries of desperate warfare. Thylorian raiders strike like lightning, their hit-and-run tactics overwhelming Dominion point defenses. Ethon vessels deploy future tech that turns Dominion weapons against each other. Valdorian shields create protective corridors for smaller ships to advance. But the true horror begins when the Iron Vortex activates. Hundreds of phantom lances fire simultaneously, their combined effect rippling through space like reality itself is tearing. Every Dominion orbital platform simply stops functioning. The massive weapons that threaten to sterilize worlds become floating sculptures, their crews trapped, but alive. Impossible. Admiral Thex breathes. Our platforms were shielded against electromagnetic attack. Against conventional electromagnetic attack, Holt corrects over the communication channel. But you've never faced human ingenuity applied to the problem of stopping genocide. Your platforms aren't disabled. Admiral, they're converted. They now answer to us. The proof comes immediately. The orbital bombardment platforms turn their weapons toward the Dominion fleet itself. Kane's ultimate tools of oppression now serve the cause of liberation. 15 minutes, Holt announces to both fleets. That's how long it took to neutralize your most powerful weapons. Your fleet is next, Chancellor. Stand down and your crews will be treated as prisoners of war. Continue fighting, and we'll demonstrate why humanity never lost a war we were determined to win. Kane stares at the tactical display in growing horror. His magnificent fleet, the pride of 3 centuries of Dominion engineering, is being systematically dismantled by an enemy that shouldn't exist. Worse, it's not just humans. His own former subjects are turning his empire's weapons against him. This is impossible, he whispers. We are the Dominion. We are inevitable. No, comes a new voice. Commander Daniel Holt appears on every screen throughout the Dominion fleet. You are history, and History Chancellor remembers everything. The Iron Vortex strikes with the fury of returning justice, and the Dominion's final fleet begins its inexorable fall into legend. The capital world of the Dominion burns not with destruction, but with change. In the great squares where Dominion banners once flew, liberated citizens gather to witness history being written. The massive propaganda screens that once broadcast Kane's decrees now show images from across the galaxy worlds, throwing off the chains of oppression species, rediscovering cultures they thought lost forever. Commander Daniel Holt stands in the former throne room of the Dominion Palace, but he does not sit upon the crystal seat that once held Supreme Chancellor Kane. Instead, he watches as representatives from 17 species work together to establish something the galaxy has never seen: a true council of equals. Sir Lieutenant Claire Morgan approaches with a data pad. Final casualty reports from the Liberation Campaign. Holt reviews the numbers, and his weathered face shows something approaching wonder. 3 billion beings freed from oppression. 47 worlds liberated. The largest military operation in galactic history. He pauses. Total casualties among liberation forces, 437. The Dominion's future tech couldn't match our survival skills, Morgan observes. 3 centuries of preparation made the difference. No, Holt corrects gently. 3 centuries of remembering made the difference. We never forgot who we were fighting for. Through the vast windows of the former palace, they can see the work of reconstruction beginning. Thylorian families reunite in the gardens where Dominion nobles once strolled. Ethon scientists share their research freely, no longer forced to serve military purposes. Valdorian children play games that their grandparents had preserved in secret for generations. "Commander," calls a new voice. Agent Samuel Drake, former Dominion intelligence, approaches with uncertain steps. Of all the Dominion leadership, only he'd shown any capacity for change. The Memorial Committee has finished their design. They'd like your approval. Holt follows Drake outside, where a crowd has gathered around the palace steps. Where Kane's statue once stood, a towering monument to tyranny artists from a dozen worlds, have erected something new. It's simple: a human soldier in basic combat armor kneeling beside a wounded alien child. The soldier's helmet is removed, showing a face that could belong to any species' definition of compassion. But it's the inscription that brings tears to eyes across the galaxy. The weakest, the most dangerous, the most human. "It's not about us," Holt says quietly. "It's about what we chose to represent, what we chose to remember." Morgan nods. The Dominion forgot that strength isn't about the biggest fleet or the most advanced weapons. It's about what you're willing to sacrifice for. As if summoned by her words, a small figure pushes through the crowd. A Thylorian child, no more than 8 by human standards, holds a crude drawing. It shows human ships alongside vessels from every liberated species flying together against a dark sky. "For the soldiers who came back," the child says in halting galactic standard, offering the drawing to Holt. The battle-hardened commander kneels to accept the gift, and for the first time in 3 centuries, Daniel Holt allows himself to weep. Not for the dead, though they deserve tears. Not for the victory, though it was hard won. But for the future, a galaxy where children can draw pictures of hope instead of hiding from the darkness. Sir Morgan says softly, transmission coming in from the outer rim. It's the Exploration Guild. They want to know if humanity is interested in returning to the stars. Holt stands the child's drawing clutched in his weathered hands. Tell them yes, but not as conquerors, not as rulers, as guardians. He turns to address the crowd. Thousands of beings from dozens of species, all united by their shared experience of liberation. "The Dominion is ended," he announces, his voice carrying across the square and beyond, transmitted to every world that was once enslaved. "But our work is not finished. There are other empires in the outer galaxies, other species crying out for freedom. And somewhere there are others like us survivors, refugees, the overlooked and underestimated. The crowd stirs with understanding. This isn't an ending, it's a beginning. We go forward together, Holt continues, human and alien, strong and weak, ancient and young. We remember the past, but we build the future. And we make sure that no child on any world ever has to draw pictures of war again. The cheer that rises from the crowd echoes across the galaxy, carried by quantum transmitters to every liberated world. On planets where the sun rises for the first time in centuries, on free soil, beings who had forgotten how to hope remember what it means to dream. In the months that follow, the stories spread. How humanity returned from the void to keep promises made centuries ago. How the weakest became the strongest through will alone. How justice, though slow, proved inevitable. The galaxy turns its face toward the stars once more, and in the darkness between worlds, new legends are already being born. Years later, children across 1,000 worlds will learn these stories. They'll speak of the human ships that came from nowhere, of tactics that defied logic, of warriors who fought not for conquest but for justice. They'll call them Sci-fi Stories, tales of a species that refused to stay extinct, refused to surrender hope, refused to let tyranny have the final word. And in the deepest archives of the galaxy, scholars will note a simple truth. When humanity returned from the void, they brought with them the most dangerous weapon any species can possess. Memory. The memory of what was lost. The memory of what was taken. And most dangerous of all, the memory of what could be. The Dominion fell not to superior technology or overwhelming force, but to the simple, terrifying power of beings who remembered that freedom is worth any sacrifice. Somewhere in the outer darkness, new threats may be stirring. Other empires, other tyrants, other species that believe might makes right. They would do well to remember the lesson carved in stone on 1,000 liberated worlds. Never underestimate the will to survive. Never underestimate the power of hope. And never, ever underestimate humanity, because we remember everything. And we're not going anywhere